10. Flail. The flail is a medieval weapon that consists of one or more weights attached to a handle by a chain. Originally derived from agricultural tools used for threshing grain, the flail was adapted for combat, particularly in Europe during the Middle Ages. The primary combat advantage of the flail is its ability to strike around shields and armor, leveraging the chain to generate unpredictable, swinging motions that are difficult to block or parry. The design of the flail varies, with some having a single heavy weight, while others feature multiple smaller balls or spikes. This weapon is particularly noted for its brutal impact, capable of inflicting severe injuries through blunt force trauma or piercing with spiked versions. The flail's ability to swing freely also means that it requires considerable skill and caution to wield effectively, as the swinging head can be as dangerous to the user as to the opponent. In a broader historical context, the flail represents the adaptation of everyday tools into weapons, a common theme in the history of warfare where necessity often drove innovation. Although not as commonly used as swords or spears, the flail holds a distinctive place in the medieval arsenal for its unique fighting characteristics and the psychological impact of its deadly, flailing strikes. Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love. 11. Pike. The pike is a long spear traditionally used by infantry for both offensive and defensive purposes. Typically measuring between 10 to 25 feet in length, pikes were especially popular in medieval Europe and were a staple of phalanx formations well into the Renaissance. The primary function of the pike is to keep enemy soldiers and cavalry at bay, its great length forming an effective barrier that could stop charges and disrupt enemy formations. Pike formations, such as the Swiss phalanx and the Scottish schiltron, were highly disciplined and could be nearly impervious to cavalry and infantry assaults if properly maintained. The use of pikes peaked during the Renaissance when the Swiss mercenaries were renowned for their effective pike tactics, which influenced military strategies across Europe. The pike underscores the importance of coordinated group tactics in warfare. Its effectiveness depended not just on the weapon itself but on the disciplined, collective action of the pikemen, making it a symbol of the shift towards more organized and structured armies during the late medieval and early modern periods. 12. Lance. The lance is a long-thrusting weapon primarily used by cavalry during charges. Unlike the pike, which is wielded by infantry, the lance is designed to be used on horseback, giving a mounted warrior a significant reach advantage in melee combat. The lance typically features a wooden shaft and a pointed metal tip, optimized for penetration of armor at high speeds. Historically, the lance was a key weapon in the arsenal of the medieval knight and was central to the practice of jousting, a martial game and training exercise. In battle, the effectiveness of the lance charge depended on the speed and mass of the charging horsemen, making it a devastating tool against unprepared infantry or opposing cavalry. The lance represents the combination of human and animal warfare, illustrating the strategic importance of cavalry in open battles and the high social and military status of mounted warriors in medieval societies. 13. Warhammer. The warhammer is a weapon that originated from the tool used for construction and metalworking, adapted into a deadly implement for combat. Characterized by a heavy, often metal head mounted on a short to medium-length handle, the warhammer was designed to concentrate a lot of force onto a small area, making it particularly effective against armored opponents. The reverse side of the hammer head might feature a spike or a beak, enhancing its utility in piercing or hooking the armor of enemies. The warhammer gained prominence during the later Middle Ages, especially as plate armor became more widespread. Its ability to dent or even penetrate armor made it a valuable weapon for knights and infantry alike. The versatility and effectiveness of the warhammer in breaching the defenses of heavily armored soldiers underscored its importance on the medieval battlefield. 14. Atlatl. The atlatl, or spear thrower, is a tool that uses leverage to achieve greater velocity in dart throwing, and dates back to prehistoric times. It consists of a shaft with a hook or socket that grips the end of a dart, allowing the user to throw the dart with more force and speed than by arm strength alone. The Atlatl was one of humanity's earliest force multipliers, significantly extending the range and impact of a thrown spear or dart. Used by various ancient cultures around the world, including those in the Americas and Europe, the Atlatl was a revolutionary hunting weapon and also had significant applications in warfare. It allowed individual warriors to engage enemies from a safer distance, and the increased force could be lethal even to opponents with rudimentary armor. 15. Scimitar. The scimitar refers to a broad range of Middle Eastern and South Asian swords that feature a curved blade, designed for slashing attacks. The typical scimitar has a blade that curves dramatically toward the point, and is often sharpened on the convex edge. Its design is optimized for mounted combat, allowing a rider to slice at foot soldiers without getting the weapon caught in an enemy's body. Historically, the scimitar is closely associated with the Persian, Ottoman, and Mughal warriors. Its iconic status is enhanced by its frequent depiction in art and literature, where it symbolizes the martial prowess and cultural sophistication of the Eastern warriors. The scimitar's design demonstrates a profound understanding of the dynamics of mounted warfare and has influenced various military tactics and weapon developments across the regions it was used. 16. Quarterstaff. The quarterstaff is a long, versatile wooden staff, typically around 6 to 9 feet in length, used both for self-defense and as a walking aid. This humble weapon has its origins in medieval Europe, where it was popular among peasants and travelers due to its ready availability and low cost. The quarterstaff is capable of a variety of combat techniques, including striking, thrusting, and sweeping moves, making it a surprisingly effective weapon against both unarmed and armed adversaries. The quarterstaff's role in historical martial arts was significant, as it was often used in training for both combat and sport. It required and developed a high degree of skill in balance, timing, and distance management, embodying the principle that even simple weapons, when mastered, can be incredibly effective. The weapon also holds a place in folklore and literary history, often associated with legendary figures like Robin Hood. 17. Halberd. The halberd is a medieval pole weapon that combines the features of a spear, axe, and hook. This multifaceted weapon typically consists of an axe blade topped with a spike and backed by a hook or thorn, all mounted on a long shaft. The halberd was used extensively by infantry during the 14th to 17th centuries in Europe. Its versatility made it effective in both offensive and defensive maneuvers, capable of piercing armor with its spike, cutting through opponents with its axe, and pulling cavalrymen from their horses with its hook. The strategic value of the halberd lay in its capacity to engage both foot soldiers and mounted units effectively. It was a staple in the Swiss mercenary armies, known for their skilled use of pole arms, and played a significant role in the phalanx formations of the Renaissance. The halberd symbolizes the transition in medieval warfare tactics from individual combat to coordinated group strategies. 18. Kukri. The kukri is a traditional Nepalese curved knife that is both a tool and a weapon. It is characterized by its distinctive inwardly curved blade, which is effective for both chopping and slicing. The kukri has been the iconic weapon of the Gurkhas, the fierce soldiers from Nepal who have been part of the British and Indian armies since the early 19th century. The design of the kukri is suited for close combat, as well as utilitarian tasks like cutting wood or meat. Its effectiveness in battle comes from the unique angle of the curve, which increases the force delivered during a chop. The kukri not only serves a practical purpose but also holds deep cultural and symbolic significance in Nepalese society, embodying the bravery and valor of the Gurkhas. 19. Gladius. The gladius was the primary sword used by Roman legionaries from the 3rd century BCE until the late 3rd century CE. This short, double-edged weapon was designed primarily for stabbing during close combat, with its pointed tip ideal for penetrating the enemy's armor. The gladius was relatively short compared to other swords of the era, which made it particularly effective in the tight formations of the Roman legions. The use of the gladius was central to Roman military tactics, which emphasized discipline and the coordination of large units. The compact size of the Gladius allowed legionaries to fight closely together, using their shields effectively for defense while striking with quick, lethal thrusts. The sword became a symbol of Roman military prowess and was integral to the expansion and maintenance of the Roman Empire. 20. Nunchaku. The nunchaku is a traditional Okinawan martial arts weapon consisting of two sticks connected at one end by a short chain or rope. Originally a farming tool used to thresh rice or soybeans, it was adapted into a weapon by the local populace as a means of defense against samurai during periods when weapons were forbidden to non-samurai classes. The nunchaku became famous worldwide due to its association with martial arts icon Bruce Lee. Its use requires skill and agility, as it can be swung to strike or entangle an opponent, as well as block and counter other weapons. The dynamic and visually impressive nature of the nunchaku has made it a popular weapon in martial arts demonstrations and films.